So, Tore Rich, you will now tell us how to avoid to get the worst of both worlds, the uncanny valley which is hallucinating. Please.
Thank you. And I can see why I'm placed together with the previous presenter, because it's in the same area. I have a dual background. I'm both a journalist and a developer, and that makes me suitable for this kind of thing, I think. Right now, on the front page of Ekstra Bladet, we have this, and it's an area of where you can see local news. We want our readers to put in their zip, and when they do that, they get the news from their city and backed up with news from their municipality. So here's we have entered Glostrup city's zip. And in that area, we have both articles written by journalists and auto-generated article in a blend. And we have that since the middle of February. So what I have built is called MAGNA. It's an acronym for monitoring and auto-generation of news articles. And the MAGNA goes out into the world, and the internet connects to APIs, get data and pictures, and sends the data to an NLG platform from AX Semantics, a German company. And they have set up a bunch of rules for how to generate an article. And then it's published on Ekstra Bladet, and it's doing that right now without anyone looking at it. And this is a little bit about how the data is structured at AX Semantics. This is a heading going to be made completely rule-based. We have, in this generation, we have three kinds of local news. We have real estate sales. This is about a cottage. We also have condos and buildings. We have articles about food inspection reports. So when the authorities go into a restaurant and see if they have cleaned or not, or something is wrong with the food, then they get a sad smiley, and if it's okay, they get a happy smiley. We write about financial reports, and this is all as before, the presented before me. It's locally, so it's connected to the zip. So now I want to dive into the financial report data, because we have access to all this data. We know the name of the company, of course. We know the revenue, the profit or loss, the equity. We know the dividend paid and the number of employees, and so on. And we also know how it was last year and the year before that. And from all that data, we can choose the most interesting framing automatically. But we don't know why the numbers changed. Why has it changed? Here's an example of a local camping that probably means something to the area of that where it's situated. And if you look at the numbers, the automatically generated article writes that it's going down this year compared to the previous year. Then if we look in the financial report data, then there's a management report written by the leaders of the company, and sometimes they write why the numbers look the way they do. So I sent the text from the management report to OpenAI, and it writes a summary, and that summary is in a blue box. In this case, it tells us something about the numbers. It says that even though they're going down, the Terrassen camping think it's an okay result, and their bank have allowed them to continue and will pay if it's not goes well. No, something like that. Okay, so the way we're doing this is automatically prompting OpenAI. So it's not in the ChatGPT interface, it's via the API, and that gives us two other things that we can do. We can make a system prompt, so we can tell OpenAI that it's a journalist. And we can set a randomness in the response so we could get a different kind of response every time we try. And this is an example of the prompt that I have been using. And we have the system prompt that tells the system that you are actually not a journalist, but you're a journalist GPT, a large language model trained by OpenAI. And to my knowledge, there do not exist anything called journalist GPT, but the model will think that it's journalist GPT and then go on with that. I got it from the developer presentation from OpenAI where they told the system that it was text GPT, and that doesn't exist either. Actually, I asked it after I did that, what is journalist GPT? And then it explained to me, oh, journalist GPT, it's a large language model that is really good at writing journalism and so on. So it works very well. I tell it to emphasize the most important and attention-grabbing things when it writes, and I tell it not to make its own assessments. Then I have the prompt, and in that prompt is the original text. It's the prompt subject. It's the original text that it should write the summary upon. And I tells it to make a short, sober, in Danish, nøgternt. Yeah, this is translated from Danish. A nøgternt, sober summary. And I do not want it to mention additional explanations or expectations and so on. All this was not in there in the beginning. It's an evaluation of the prompt to get the best result. This is an example of the original text on the top, and you can see why it's not possible to put that directly into the article. It put words together that shouldn't be there, and it's not formatted correctly. And OpenAI makes a very fine summary, even though it looks like that. It also translates English to Danish without any problems, mostly. Once it invented a word that doesn't exist, but it is very seldom. So we all know that. We all know the hallucinations, and you don't have to read all that. It's just an example of you have to put in the summary that you want the original text. You have to enclose that in something. It could be quotations marks, and I didn't do that there. So in this example, OpenAI continues to write the prompt and then makes a summary of its own prompt and mine prompt, and that's not very good. A more funny example here, then I happened to start with a quotation mark, but my system didn't put it on in the end. So OpenAI thinks that the prompt is a little too short, so it says it events its own revenue, and it events its own number of customers, and then it makes a summary of its own invention and my prompt and comes out with something completely strange. This is something I don't want it to do. I don't want the model to evaluate the content. So even though that the company has had a successful year, you can say that, looking at the numbers, I don't want it to write it. And that is fixed within the system prompt. I do not want it to make its own assessments, and it should be a sober summary in the prompt, and that works. But we still need a human in the loop. So I told you before that all the rule-based articles are placed on the site and published without anyone looking. It doesn't go for the generative AI. So we need a human in the loop, and this is the interface I built for that, with the undecided resumes and the original text and the resume. And in that we have a comment sections, so you can write in why you want to reject that summary, and we keep that in our database. We also do food inspection reports, as I told you about. This is an example from a restaurant, and we only know from the data that we get from the internet that it got a sad smiley, but we don't know why. And again, we have OpenAI write a summary about that, and in the summary we can see that it's due to deficiencies in hygiene and cleaning, and that the company had noticed these deficiencies and tried to keep them down with weekly cleaning, but had to come up with something more. So that's now in the article after it's been accepted by the human. So this is just to show you what a control report, food inspection report looks like. What we are interested in is somewhere in there in the text. My program goes in and finds this. The green parts. The first green part is where the criticism starts, and the other green part is where the company's remarks to that starts. So I've found that if I put all the text into the model, it's not good enough. It's better to structure the prompt the best way you can, and that's by picking out what you want and structure the prompt with that. But still, it goes wrong sometimes, and here we have some criticism in the report. It says that they had some problems with the special labeling requirements and so on. And the company had the following comments: next time we will do it better. And the model got this result. The company has reported itself to the police and has noticed that next time it will be better. But we keep all the rejected data and the accepted data, and I did an analysis on this. It's on Nick's blog. During the period from 20th of January to 11th of April, and in that period we had 92 articles with summary attempts, and all of them got a summary. But only 59% got a summary in the first attempt. And so this is a table showing that we have 92 articles, and 55 of them got an article in the first attempt, 50 in the second, and so on. And we even have two very, very up the scale. One article took 12 attempts, and one took 11. And the reason for that is because we didn't put the reject reasons back into the model. We do that now. These are the categories for rejected summaries. The two most rejected reasons were that there was something incorrect in the summary, or that there was something missing in the summary that should be there. The two other next reasons is that there was something wrong with the language, it wasn't good enough in Danish, and or that the AI put some evaluation into the content that I didn't want it. For instance, it said that it was a very good year for the company. Then there could be some irrelevant information. That was fixed with changing the prompt, but it, for instance, could start by saying some company reports has a lot about how the year has gone by in the world, and it shouldn't start with that. It could also be a wrong translation. It could add its own content or hallucinate. We didn't have much of that. It could be mentioning what is missing, and that's because I had a prompt at sometimes saying, if you see that, put that into the summary, and then it wrote, oh, I didn't see that. It sometimes was not aware of public knowledge. It's, of course, caught off in 2021. And once the summary was too long. We used the news model available that was text events in the beginning, short time with the 3.5 Turbo and then GPT-4. And now we give reject reasons back to the model, and you can do that with the chat mode. So you first have the system prompt, then you have the prompt, then you have the summary, then you have the reject reason, and then you have a new summary. And that effectively reduces the summary attempts per article. Then we have something else we can do with the summaries. We can make new headings, because the headings are only that different if I put many, many rules into them. So if we have the model looking at the heading and then at the summary and then make new heading attempts, we can have some more interesting headings and more variable headings. So here I ask you to do 3 different proposals. The first one is almost the same. The second one is better. tells the FC Roskilde, the football club, receives responsible loan capital after million losses. So that's from both. And also the third one, sponsorship initiatives in focus after FC Roskilde's million deficit. So that's actually pretty good headings made from both the summary, which is much longer than that, and the auto-generated headline. I could also, before I go to up next, I want to tell you about that we also, when we look at the food inspection reports, all the bad reports are sent with email to the editorial staff, and that have already made for a lot of articles. Also, when I find something in the summary that could be useful for a better article made by journalists, I contact the editorial staff for that. So we want to work more together with the editorial staff to find new ways to do this. So we have thorough discussions with them, what can we do? And one thing we could do is to build a chatbot with all the knowledge from Ekstra Bladet. So instead of just searching in the archive, it could be a companion you can talk with, knowing all the articles. Or we could auto-generate a resume about a public figure. So you could write something about, I want to know about this person, can you give me a resume? And then it goes on the internet, on curated sites, and finds that. Or we could use it to auto-generate summaries and article ideas based on a live chat. We have journalists following a football game or a courtroom session writing about that, and during that they need to make a little summary all the time of the most interesting things, and afterwards they need to perhaps write an article about that, and we can make suggestions for that. Is that it?
I am over here because I noticed that the tech people was around here, right? Who are tech? It come from the tech background. Okay, so they hide into the dark, of course. So what did you think about this presentation? What would be your questions? Because we have all journalists, they love posing questions. What would your remarks be? Because that is what we all want to do, right? Make that work, and it doesn't really work. And it works at some level, right? Anyone? Yeah?
Mads from Ekstra Bladet. What can you share with us about the readers of these articles? Where do they come from? Who are they?
We don't have that much data right now. We have some on the readers, but we are not finished analyzing it. But it's focused on local readers. But I don't know much more about that. Sorry. No.
Does it make sense economically today?
To do this?
Yeah.
It is not very expensive.
It's not expensive, but I mean, if you have 7-8 attempts before you get a short resume.
Yes, but no, of course, yeah. It's not feasible to have a human in the loop for this. But we can, not for scaling at least. We are going to try to make an AI go through the evaluations before a human comes on. And that should put up the number from 59% to something bigger. And also, putting in the reject reasons would cut it off after the second or the third attempt.
So basically you're saying that now you're prompting, you are editor GPT. And you are about to correct this article.
I'm going to correct this. Yeah.
If you want to prompt it to check it, right?
I want to make an editor GPT, yeah, that should check it if it's okay, or something else, yeah.
Which problem did you wish you could solve right now?
I really would want it to be correct in the summary much more than it is. So I would want it to learn how to do it better.
Yeah. And if somebody is looking for collaboration, what would you like to collaborate on?
I would like to collaborate on making better tools for the journalists to embrace this in their workflow.
Better tools? What kind of tools? What do you mean?
If we're talking about making tools for them to I think that they could use this to enhance their workflow and get more get new creative ideas. That's something very you don't want to do this as a journalist, I think, because you have some pride, you want to do it yourself, but you can use this technology to get new ideas.
Are you building it into your CMS?
If they want to.
Do they?
They're not sure.
Well, the jury is still out. Please give me a hand.